Okay, now next step, make an outhouse. So what are we going to need? We're going to need the some of the pieces. I had already popped these out of the graphic sheet. You're going to need nail polish, some fine wire, a wire cutter. I'm going to need a stain pen and a gluing jig. Tweezers and a glue spreader. And oyster white paint. We're going to scrub the inside of the outhouse to match the cabin. And of course, paintbrushes and water. Okay, let's get started. We're also going to need a piece of wax paper to keep our work surface clean and a palette. So let's clear some of this stuff away. And get started. Now the first thing we're going to do, because it takes time to dry, is we are going to treat our graphics. Now, if you look at the graphics page, you're going to see a number of things on there. Here's the brick for your hearth in the inside of your cabin. We have a collection of license plates for the outside of the outhouse because whoever owned this cabin a million years ago collected license plates. Every province and territory in Canada actually is represented in those license plates. We have a sign for the door that says Moose Crossing. We have a little sign, if you want to use it, to put up on the cabin that said Outhouse this way. Another one that says no peeing off the porch. These four pieces here are actually copies of pages from the Sears Roebuck catalog. And guess where they're going in the outhouse. Now this top row, what I'd like you to do is cut the very top row off. Now what you're cutting off are the license plates and the Moose Crossing sign. This piece can be put aside for a little bit later. I wouldn't recommend you cut out your Sears Roebuck catalog now because you'll lose them. Okay, we're going to take some clear nail polish. Diamond glaze will also work, but I happen to have this handy. And we are going to put a thin layer of nail polish on top of the license plates and the Moose Crossing sign. This will give them a little bit of a shine and make them look a little bit more like metal. Okay, now we can put that aside and let it dry. Okay. Now I've decided that for my outhouse I'm going to have the boards outside and have it just plain on the inside, and this is the part I'll cover with white. If you want to do it the other way, you can put this on this side on the inside, scrubbed white. You can finish this side to look like the board and batten on your cabin. It's a matter of personal preference, but I'm going to stain this and use it on the outside, and then I'll turn it over and I will put a scrub white onto the inside. Now these are the sides here that I'm working with. This little piece here is the floor of the outhouse. Now in real life this would only go halfway because there would be a great hole underneath it. And it would be important to have a hole underneath where the seat of the toilet would be, or you would just be collecting a big mess in there. I think my pen is running a little low on stain. Well, let's hope I make it through the... Oh, this is really going to be touch and go. Okay, better add that to my shopping list. New provincial stain pen. Okay, that's stained the outside of it. Now we are going to use some white paint. Well, again, it's not white really. We're using oyster white here. Now, it's important that you get almost all of the paint off your brush before you start to do this. Again, we want it to look like the spiders have been inhabiting this place. And what I'm doing right now, this is an example of, what would you call it? Compulsiveness. There is no position anywhere in the whole wide world that probably would let you see the inside of the front of the... Oh, maybe there is. If you look through the back wall, you would see the front. So I guess it is important that we cover it. Now, something else you need to watch. See how I've gotten white paint on here? So it's very important not to put my next piece here on top of that white paint. So as I go along, I've got to be selecting clean pieces of wax paper. Okay, again, we want it to look like it's... Okay, so we need a clean piece of wax paper. Now this door is going to be very much like the door of the cabin. It's your choice. If you want to be able to see that there is, you know, a Sears Roebuck catalog there, you're going to have to leave your door open. This is the floor. It is going to be on the ground, so it does not need to be painted on the underside. You know, it's hard to give a bad paint job. We are so trained as miniaturists and perfectionists that we want everything to be perfect. And I keep looking at this and thinking, oh, it's going to need at least one more coat. And then I remember this is an outhouse that was painted, you know, 100 years ago and has never been painted again. And I look at that cabin and I keep thinking, oh, I want to paint that over again so it's a nice clear finish. Now again, this is personal preference. I know I'm going to be happy with this rough look when I'm finished, because that's the way I want my cabin to look. Now, with the seat, what I'm going to suggest is that we not paint this until we've got it together. That way we can paint, we make sure we paint the edges as well. Okay, now in this piece, these pieces here are the parts to your, you can guess what part that is. So what we're going to need here now this piece here is the toilet lid. And it is your preference whether you want to have the toilet lid open or closed. Now personally, I like closed toilet lids in outhouses because in real life you don't want that smell to get out. But it's your choice. If you are going to have your toilet seat open, you may want to consider painting the inside, or at least the back wall, black. Okay, this will become clearer as we start to assemble this. Now I'm going to get rid of this painted up piece. Oh, wasn't that fun? Just drop it on the floor. Okay, let's get our gluing jig out. Now, we are going to start with the back wall of the cabin. Okay, and that we are going to put into the corner. Now, you're not going to glue it in place now, right now. But what you are going to do is you're going to use this as your spacer to put your floor in. Like so. Okay, can you see how that fits? So where is my glue? Okay, so we need some glue in our palette. Okay, so we are going to glue just one wall of this butts up against the back wall. So we're going to put that in place first. And we're going to use a couple of magnets to hold it tight. And since there's no good way to actually, I'm going to use a scrap of painter's tape just to hold that in place. Make sure you've got it as tight as you can get it. Okay, so we're just going to hold that in place like that. Now, your side, your floor snugs up into that corner there. So we need to have glue on two sides. And we'll poke that into the corner as tight as we can get it. And you can see that there is a little space there to fit that final wall in place. However, now this is important, the tolerances are tight, so make sure you get the tabs off the edges of these. There are 3 pieces like this, okay, and they provide the top, bottom, and side of the. So this you're just going to put glue on the back because it's just, oops, I'm doing it again. I'm using paint instead of glue. Ugh. This does not have to be stained, okay? Because it's just a support piece on the inside. So you see how that glues in right there? And on the floor, make sure we've got no tabs sticking out there. On the floor, snugged up to it. We're going to put our second piece. That also acts as a spacer. And very good, I managed to get glue all over there. That's why we stain first. Okay. Now we're going to need this little tiny piece here. Just a little bit of glue on the back of that. Because it is going to fit in this back corner. Actually, I think tweezers would be very helpful at this point. But I have no idea where I put them. It never ceases to amaze me how you can have stuff laid out in front of you. This is a rectangle, by the way, so make sure that you get it in the right position. Like that. Can you see that? Now, it's not quite the right size, but that's okay because what we want it to do is support. Make sure we've got the tabs off that. Now, in this case, this is going to show. So you have to decide whether you want this to be white to match the walls, similar to this. Okay, this is your top piece. So while that glue is setting up, we're going to decide whether we want this white to match the walls or whether we want it stained. Now, I think I want it white to match the walls. So I'm going to glue this in place. I just need to put glue. Pardon me. What am I doing? because it butts up to the floor, I've got to do this first. So I'm just going to push that aside for a moment. Make sure I've got that wiped off. And paint that. And paint this top piece here. Make sure you remember to paint the front that is going to show. Okay, I'm going to just set that down and let it dry for a minute. I'm going to do a slightly better paint job on that one, because if the owners of this cabin paint anything, it's going to be the toilet seat. And the last little piece, which I've managed to lose, there it is going to get stained. Now, is there enough stain in the pen? Yes, there is. I just want to round that off a little bit. The same with this. Let's stain those sign pieces and stain the back. There we go. Okay, now those white painted pieces are not quite dry yet. So I'm just going to sit here and let the glue set up and let the paint dry, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, here we're back again. Now, where is a paintbrush? I'm going to get my paintbrush here. I'm just going to put those over here in the hope that I don't lose them. And I'm going to, taking some brown paint, I want a very, very, very dry brush. I'm going to mucky up that floor a little bit because it's not realistic to have it. Okay, so now it looks dirty. Okay, next piece is the front. So we're going to take some glue. We're just going to run it along the floor part and the edging part. And that goes into place like that. Okay. I'm just going to clean that off. Let's get some of that excess glue out of there. Push it into place. Now, oops,